Smart 24, driving business.
When you move goods from one country to another, either because those goods are not taxed in one country and they are taxed in another, so there is interest in moving them from the country where they are not taxed to the country where they are taxed, or because the rates are different, the rates of tax are different, or where it is easier. You may tax in both countries, but it is easier to evade those taxes from one country and move the goods to another country. So as a region, we are very much aware of this, and we have taken very bold measures to deal with smuggling of goods. For example, when goods move from the port of entry, Mombasa, to our respective countries, we track them real time on what we call the regional electronic cargo tracking system. We can see those goods move all the way from Mombasa to all our respective destinations, real time. And we are able to take interventions when anybody tries to smuggle those goods out of the transit routes. In this meeting, we have also discussed about use of smart gates as part of the enhanced technology we shall use for monitoring those goods. So we will ensure that we use smart gates so that if a vehicle leaves Mombasa, we can see it real-time exit at the border. Using the smart gates, they can be able to track down the container numbers and also the vehicle numbers, and also take care of the weights to ensure that those goods exit the border. We realize our borders are porous, very, very porous indeed. And in this discussion, we have discussed how to use drones to enhance our ability. Because from a drone, you can be able to surveil a large portion of that border from one point and take appropriate intervention. So we are deploying drones to help us in that kind of exercise. In Kenya, we have already started procuring those drones, very highly technical drones that will help us surveil those expansive borders and have what we call pointed interventions. We are also going to enhance the deployment of our staff that we have at the borders to ensure we have adequate staff at the borders. Of course, you are aware we have deployed scanners to ensure that we can see whatever is coming in and going out. So the bigger challenge has been the expansiveness of the border, which now we are moving towards the drone technology to ensure that we deal with that problem. But we are also trying to deal with this smuggling problem from a policy perspective. Like I said, where rates are different, then there is what you call, there is a motivation to evade the taxes or to smuggle the goods. So we have discussed in this meeting how we shall move towards harmonization of our tax rates, so that there is no motivation of smuggling ethanol from Tanzania to Kenya or from Uganda to Kenya, because the rate that is charged on ethanol will be the same. So there is no motivation, you gain no advantage. So we are pursuing harmonization of our tax rates so that there is no motivation to smuggle the goods. And I believe with those two interventions and ensuring that domestically we enhance the kind of controls we have in terms of exports, in terms of movement of goods, this should not be a big problem moving forward.
We have agreed on a number of resolutions, and indeed the Secretariat will share these resolutions after they've been properly prepared and signed. But for purposes of this brief conference, I want to highlight a few areas where we agreed and the resolutions that we made around these areas. The first resolution was on having a common tax administration system and a common data governance policy across the region. This is for the obvious reason that technology is very expensive, but also this technology should be domesticated and managed efficiently. So we shared how every country is running its tax administration system, and we agreed that going forward we should work together to find the most suitable solutions for tax management, not only for today but even for the future. And we have tasked our team of experts, the commissioners in charge of this area of IT and the IT subcommittee of this forum, to work hard and get back to us within 1 month's time on how we shall proceed together on this front. The second resolution that we have agreed on today is on having a uniform digital services tax across the region. The Kenya Revenue Authority shared with us the experience in what they've been able to achieve by collecting digital services tax at a rate of 1.5. And after listening to the experience, we agreed that when we go back, we make recommendations to our respective governments, our heads of state, on enhancing and improving the tax rate for digital services, and our recommendation will be 5%, so that it is comparable to the other taxes that we charge the resident businesses within our countries. And this is something that we also agreed to expedite and start implementing in our respective countries.
When you move goods from one country to another, either because those goods are not taxed in one country and they are taxed in another, so there is interest in moving them from the country.
Kenya Revenue Authority and the Ghana Revenue Authority are having certain discussions regarding how best they can really make the taxes, increase the tax revenue out there. And some of the resolutions being discussed was the aspect of the digital collections, getting the taxes from these digital related services at a rate of 1.5%. Okay, that's according to what Kenya's experience was when they started to collect taxes from the the Kenya Revenue Authority started to collect taxes from the digital services, something which Uganda hasn't yet adapted to the fullest. But with this discussion, we get to realize that quite a lot was shared, and we anticipate that it will be put into practice very soon in Uganda. For example, there are quite so many digital services that operate in Uganda, and maybe we've not really taken time as of course as a country to really understand how can we tax these platforms. You know, these can include the streaming platforms which people really stream on, quite lots of amazing content out there, the likes of Netflix. I'll give an example. Those are some of the digital services we are talking about here, that they operate within here, but they don't really pay any taxes. But with such initiatives, that can be something to look into. It can be a projection which Uganda can really look into to ensure that there is increase in revenues. Well, away from that, a very good morning once again. I'm Andrew Barije, and it's yet another business day to ensure that we run business appropriately. It's the 21st, yes, it's the 21st of February 2023. How was the day, and what is that you've planned out there for your business to ensure that you maximize profitability? Things have to really move on like the way you really anticipate. But still, away from that, don't forget to start up your day as you invest in Zabu. Buy securities at Alltex. You just there *292#, and you will be availed with quite a number of details there, and you can be able to buy government bond securities at your own pace and at whatever part of the country you are. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. and close at 3:15. That is p.m. East African time, and you can buy bonds with as little as 15,000. You will be able to buy shares and execute, run business on a side income. And also, one of the most amazing aspects about this is that you can withdraw your money anytime you feel like you need it. So that makes it quite a very interesting aspect on your mobile phone. Embracing the digital service. Zabu, my money, my future. No hassle, no more paperwork, of course, which is involved when you're buying shares in a company as compared to the traditional ways. Well, away from that, now let's get straight to the press review. Getting to see what is really making headlines in the world of business. Looking at the print media, of course, I have two sets on with me here. But firstly, we are going to review the new vision and see what is really transpiring in there. Okay. And of course, we see Biden makes a surprise trip to Kiev before invasion anniversary. Well, the U.S. President Joe Biden yesterday made a trip to Kiev and organized a trip to Kiev, promising 500 million, that is US dollars, in fresh arms deliveries and unwavering American support. That is ahead of the first anniversary of Russia's invasion. Well, that is something for you out there to check out for any person that is really embarking onto following what is happening there in the world of Ukraine-Russia conflict. Well, now away from that, we still look at we see here that over 42 billion Ugandan shillings earmarked for new A-level curriculum. Now we see that the parliament has approved that is 42.16 billion for the development of the new A-level, that is A-level curriculum. And now we see that that is by the National Curriculum Development Center. Now the parliamentary committee that is on budget observed that the NCDC experienced budget cuts in its budget. In its budget observed, the financial year 2020 to 2023 budget cuts regarding that. And now that is from 42.16 billion, that is in 2021-2022 financial year, to 22.12. Now, the NCDC, of course, last year, the previous financial year, it was in position to earn 42.16 billion, but now it is anticipated due to budget cuts it's going to be receiving 22.1. But now yet it has earmarked 42 billion, which is required for it to implement the new A-level curriculum. Well, where does this all end? Then we shall be getting to understand regarding that. Now, OPM, Office of the Prime Minister, releases a report on iron ships bonanza. Now, the Prime Minister, that's Robin Anabanja, has explained her office that her office is working with detectives to investigate allegations that is of diversion of relief items and meant for Karamoja region. Well, that is also something you can really check out for there. Now, still looking here, we see police in search for live that is kidnapped victims. And so far, according to the reports, it's like 60 have been rescued. So that and more story, you can be checking it out there in the new vision. Now, of course, we see something here about a statement here that says that poor parenting is pushing children to the streets. Yes, poor parenthood. How do you parent your children? How do you raise them up? Well, it's believed here that poor parenting is the one that is leading to excess children being on the streets. Okay, now still looking into here, we see Mbabazi briefs African Union presidents on Russia-Ukraine war talks. Yeah, that is former Prime Minister Amama Mbabazi and his delegation, including the former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, have briefed the African Union presidents that is attending the Peace and Security Council meeting about their efforts to find a solution that is to the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, still in the new vision here, we see African Union adopts report on reforms in the United Nations Council right there. And the report makes it here a very interesting way. It says that Uganda has joined other African countries to adopt the report of the Committee of 10, that is of 10 on reforms in the UN Security Council. Well, in case you're interested, to really follow up that story. You can catch it up there. Now we also see government decrease acute shortage, that is of blood. Yeah, we see Dr. Dorothy Cheyune Biabizare, the director of Uganda Blood Transfusion Services, has decreed that is an acute shortage of blood across the country. She noted that currently there are only 320,000 units of blood available in the regional referral hospitals. Now 320,000 units available of blood. Of course, that is what is declared now, which means there is shortage of blood. Okay, now still looking at the new vision here, you see Uganda develops blue economy strategy. Well, what is really about this? We see that as part of the efforts to ensure that is effective management of Uganda's environment and natural resources, several policies and institutions have been put in place. Now, however, we see that despite these efforts, Uganda's natural resources continue to be degraded, and this jeopardizes both that is individual livelihoods and the country's economic development. Now, of course, more of that will be developing up as Uganda develops blue economy strategy, environmental conservation in here. Okay, still we see minister warns government teachers on absenteeism. That is Agriculture State Minister Fred Bueno Chakulaga has cautioned teachers in government schools, yes, against dodging classes. Well, that is something out there for the teachers working in government schools. A warning sent out to you. You should start to attend classes. Okay, now still looking up here, of course, we see a statement here, some articles about a peek at Uganda's broad sector reforms. Well, you can really catch that up to see how. And then for those of you that are interested in some other aspects like arbitration, there is something here about in the comment section how to appoint an arbitrator. Well, if you're really interested, you have to check it out in today's new vision. Still looking here, of course, Dr. Ariong in the comment section still brings here the facts about the electricity sector. Yes, what is really to be, what you really need to understand about this particular sector. And now still in the same section, we see an inspiration on how to live a fulfilled life. Do you want to live a fulfilled life? Well, more of that is really out there for you to ensure that you get to understand how this works. Now still there is something about the oil and gas infrastructure. Yes, quite lots, as we know, oil mining is set to be on. Lastly, here in the new vision, there is a question here that about still in the natural resources, that will government connect West Nile to power? That is by the end of March. Will the West Nile region have electricity? In other words, by the end of March. Well, more of that. Now, still away from that, let me cross over to the Daily Monitor. Still the top page here says scientists unveil plan to keep maize clean. Maize, well, very important. Now, still away from that, as we shall get back there, we see Entebbe records growth in passenger numbers right there. Well, that is quite very interesting, as we see that the 7,415 drop, that is in passenger figures for January, from the 156,790 that transited through Entebbe International Airport in December 2022 will hardly be noticeable. That is considering the upheaval faced during the period. Well, and also quite some other grave aspects here. Well, we see still here that Uganda discovers new aflatoxin, that is contrameans. That is good news, and of course for all those that are into that particular aspect. And now that explains what we read here on the first page of scientists unveil a plan to keep the maize clean. Now that is one of the ways of fighting these aflatoxins. Now we still see that car owners to pay 735,000 for new digital number plates. Now we have digital number plates coming on the way, and now the fee is 735,000. Wow, interesting. Now that is something that you will find out more if you go to get yourself the Daily Monitor to understand the details of that. Now still back to the parish development model money. Of course, it's been really having conversations in here as we see here PDM money stuck on SACCO accounts. Well, that and more you will be finding it out in the Daily Monitor. Now still here in some other aspects, we see corruptors say a tale of creating dirty people. That is of course an article written, some right there. If you're really interested in that, you can actually check it out. We now still see here that 5 African stories that remain central to reading. That is later right there. Okay, now still here on the letter of the day, of course, talking about embrace alternatives to custodial sentences to curb prison congestion. Of course, prisons are so congested in there, so that is something to get to understand. Now, in the technology sector here, we see behind the shift to online advertising, as we see, of course, for people that have businesses out there, how far have you gone to embrace technology to ensure that you push out your brand out there to the people? That is something that you can really check out here, behind the shift to online advertising in the technology sector. Now, still in the profile section, Daily Monitor, we see that highs and lows of exporting dried fruits and vegetables. To any person that is really aspiring to get into this particular business, you get to understand what it really takes. You need to, by that, you will be in position to know what it takes for the highs and lows of exporting dried fruits and vegetables at the same time. Well, still on the cover story here, we see that how to deepen the impact of development financing. For any person interested to know that, development financing, you want to really understand how this really operates, check it out. More of the details in just right there. Okay, now still there is an aspect here in the still in personal finance, which says that why your SME needs insurance. That is something which not so many Ugandans we've adhered to, despite the growth, though there is quite a slight. So you need to understand why your SME needs financing. It's very important. Well, it's exactly 27 minutes past 7 a.m. and at this particular time, let's get into a short commercial break. We shall be returning. That is with the international news, Karibu East Africa, getting to see what is happening that side. Stick around. Good morning.